Welcome to another episode of the Web3 Experience. Super excited today to be here with Eric Cruz, the Senior VP of Sales at Propy Incorporated. Now, you'll get into Propy, but to give people a rundown, Propy is kind of revolutionizing the way that crypto native people can interact in the real estate world, acting as a title company and many other tools that Propy offers. And we'll get into that discussion in a second. But before we get into it, Eric, I'd love if you could just give people just an understanding of who you are as a person and your journey in the business world and what has brought you to become where you are today with Propy.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me first off. I know this has kind of been a little bit in the works, so thanks for your patience and getting us on. I've had kind of a different, I think, path in business. Because I've been in sales for a long time. I was in beer sales at one point. I joined my dad, and we were in the insurance business for a while. At one point, I actually left where I'm native to California. I left the LA area and moved to the island of Maui. And on Maui, I started up a few businesses, and so I've always wanted to work with people. I've always kind of wanted to work on my own as an entrepreneur. So that's really what I got into in Hawaii. And then when I moved to Florida, things just kind of changed a little bit for me, and I started getting into real estate, and I started getting into the tech industry in real estate. And then within a couple of years and whatnot, I found Propy, and I've been here ever since.
Awesome. And just elaborate on Propy a little bit for people who aren't really familiar with the technology, the application, what you guys do. Can you explain the platform and what sets it apart from traditional real estate platforms?
Yeah, well, Propy is definitely unique. I think you hit it on the nose with that. We were the first company that had ever NFT'd a property. We were the first company that had ever then sold that property using cryptocurrency. And we were the first company to have ever actually recorded a deed of that sale on blockchain. And so we've kind of invented the technology and the process in order to actually sell and purchase a home in 24 hours. And so this whole 30-day period of waiting kind of goes out the door when we can do it properly. So we've developed this technology, and we did this, 7 years ago. However, that technology and that process hadn't really been adopted as fast as we thought it would be. So we've kind of had to scale down a few aspects of our business. And so that's when we created this offer management tool that's on our platform, where agents can actually have a unique URL for every single listing they have and actually receive in real time offers and notifications, and they can bring their clients into it as well. So there's full transparency on when and what these offers are. We have AI on our platform. So AI is actually extracting the information from these offers and summarizing the entire offer for agents and their clients. We found a lot of real estate agents, when they get offers on their listings, they're actually summarizing everything themselves, and it takes time. So instead of that, we have AI that does it for our agents. Now, when it comes to the title and escrow side of our business, we have AI that actually does exactly the same thing, extracts information from the executed contract, timelines the process instantly. So we know when earnest money is, we know when it's due, we know when the inspection period is, and so everything is timelined instantly. But at the same time, through smart contracts, we're able to actually automate some of this process, so we can actually get escrow started, title ordered, and all these things 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
It's amazing. And as you know, and people, maybe they don't know that I am a real estate agent in Florida. And I've been a native to the Web3 space for 6+ years now. So, Propy, you said, was inventing this technology 7 years ago, but we really hadn't reached a place from a political standpoint, from an adoption standpoint, to let this all happen. But now it feels like everything's rushing at the same time, right? AI is booming. Trump is coming in and is super pro crypto. So who knows what's going to be integrated on the real estate side of things. Also, speaking from experience, dealing with title and escrow and having to see which company you want to use, the buyer or the sellers, and then having to hunt people down to see if the wire went through to get an escrow deposit. It's a very tedious process that involves a lot of waiting and a lot of checking in on people. But if you guys are creating a technology that allows that process to be streamlined and tracked in real time on both sides of the party, I feel like it's super, super awesome. And we haven't even gotten into the point that kind of integrates cryptocurrencies. So I would love for you to just kind of explain how does Propy integrate cryptocurrency into the blockchain technology into the buying and selling process? And to help people understand, can you shed light on crypto real estate transactions in the past and how they've previously been processed, and then how Propy is revolutionizing and changing the game in terms of that aspect?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things. One, you're absolutely right. I think since 2020, there was just a huge catalyst with COVID coming in for technology, right? And there's a lot of people that are sitting at home, and there's a big catalyst also for crypto, right? And so a couple of things happened in 2020. Not only did we have the COVID, but we also had a halving of Bitcoin, right? And so with this halving of Bitcoin led into a bull run. With this bull run, individuals were able to, take advantage of the markets and made money with crypto. Well, then they wanted to do something with this crypto, and they wanted to diversify. They wanted to take advantage of their earnings. And so there was a study done in 2021 that over 11.5% of all first-time home buyers in the US use some form of cryptocurrency for their down payment on a property. I think we're going to see that number, instead of 11.5%, I think we're going to see something closer to 25% of first-time home buyers using cryptocurrency for a down payment. The key, though, is this. Is back in 2021, where people were taking advantage of their earnings, they had to withdraw crypto, turn it to USD, and then use that USD or that's how it was. There was no one that was taking crypto to buy a house. But we actually have been able to take crypto instead of the buyer having to withdraw and turn into USD. Man, we handle everything all internally. So someone can come in absolutely with crypto and use their crypto towards purchasing a property and not having to worry about trading it in or selling it off to USD.
Yeah.
We're big fans of Coinbase. They are the largest exchange in the US. I think they have something like 54 million US platform users. They are a trusted company. So they're a great company to collaborate with. We trust them. Our token Pro is listed on their exchange, and we're happy to do this collaboration with them. With that said, I think that being able to let crypto people use crypto is a huge plus. People in the Web3, people that own crypto, they want to use crypto. That's the fun of it. I was just 2 weeks ago, I was on a cruise and I went down to Puerto Rico. And I was in this little tiny, I was in San Jose, but got in an Uber and drove like 20 minutes away to this little town. And here I am in this little town, and I'm in this little barbecue joint. And on the table, there's a QR code that you can actually purchase your meal or drinks or whatever with Bitcoin. And I'm like, here we are in the middle in an island in a tiny little town, and these people are accepting Bitcoin for payment. And so it just shows you the power of having a global currency. But it also shows you the power of this. I'm going to tell you, because I wanted to pay with crypto. Why? Because I'm a crypto guy, right? And so that's the same thing. That's a small scale of it. But on a larger scale in real estate, people that are into crypto, they want to use crypto. And so now they have the capability and the ability to actually use their crypto and not have to worry about exchanges and all this. Now, when it comes to tax reasons, a lot of individuals think that, well, look at this. There's a difference of using crypto compared to selling crypto, right? And it's absolutely correct. However, and I'm going to tell you this too, is that I'm not a tax professional. So always go to a CPA to get tax, information. Right. But I will say this, and I have spoken to a tax person, and although that you cannot avoid taxes when you're using or selling crypto, okay? Foreign taxes, no. But there are ways to structure companies that you own just on paper in order to actually make it less taxable.
Yeah. And I wanted to kind of circle back to what you said about in San Juan, how they're using crypto, even in El Salvador and other countries, smaller countries that you wouldn't expect them to be so technologically advanced, right? Why do you think that they have adopted Bitcoin payments and, simple payment systems before the US? And I'll tell you my answer before you get into it. I'm Lebanese. We come from a country where our fiat currency heavily inflated over the last half decade, along with a ton of other currencies like Venezuela, like, other islands that their governments may have failed them or overspent to the point of hyperinflation. So how do you see, and you're a crypto native guy, you're very into the space and have been for many years. What's your thesis on just crypto in general, and coming from a small scale to now getting up to a grand scale when we're trying to now, instead of fruits and vegetables, we're trading assets on a large scale in terms of houses and commercial projects in the future and larger projects?
I think it has to do, the US is just such a different beast compared to any other country, right? We're kind of the leaders in a lot of areas. This country was raised on innovation. I was to the point, not only just technology and whatnot, but we've even invented the high five, if you think about even something just like that, so there's so many things, there's so much, even though how young that this country is, there's been so much in this country that has been started here, that has been developed here, that has been created here. And so when we talk about the US dollar, that's ours, right? And it's something that we hold very valuable. I think that because of our economic system and how large and how widely used the US dollar is, it's tough for the US to break away from that control. Because you can use USD in a lot of places outside of the United States. You can still use it in Mexico. You can still use it in Canada. You can still use it in Puerto Rico. You can still use it, a lot of places. And so it's hard to let that go. I think that also is with the U.S. government is, as it's always been, is control. And having less control over someone's finances is a scary thought. And I don't think the U.S. government cares for that, to go down that road. And again, then it goes down to, the people that are in our government, I feel, are good old boys, and change is very hard for individuals that are with that mindset. And so before even trying to, think about what change could look like, it's instantly there's a wall that goes up and says, whoa, this is change. I don't like how it feels.
Yeah, but now it seems like it's just coming all at once. The innovation is all coming into the US and being adopted very heavily in terms of blockchain, AI agents that are being created now to kind of start this next wave of pushing out some of the workforce. Some of the workforce is going to get pushed out by these AI agents and these types of, you've just heard about the DeepSeek, fiasco that just happened. And then maybe we'll take a second just to explain that. Did you hear about the DeepSeek, breakthrough with China? Yeah. What are your thoughts there?
You know what? It's good to have competition. So I'm glad something like this is occurring, because it just fuels the other companies and it makes everyone else want to get better. So I don't have a problem at all with a little bit of competition. I think that I'm glad that China came out with something that's so robust like this, because guess what? That's going to put a little bit of fire underneath everyone else, and to recognize that, hey, look, we can't always be the king. And that's something that we talk about a lot at Propy is even though that we're the leaders in this space, man, there could be someone behind us that we just don't know is coming. And so we've always got to be innovative. We can't get comfortable. We've always got to be looking forward, always seeing where we fit in, and always be that leader. Always keep going and keep going and keep going, because I guarantee, man, I don't know if you ever ran track in college or high school, but when you're running forward and all you're doing is looking forward, you don't see the person running behind you until it's too late. And then now they're beside you and you're going, where did this guy come from? So business can be the same way. And so it's good to have a little competition, I
feel. 100%. And on that note, what is Propy's plans to innovate with this adjusting climate in AI, and AI just kind of coming so fast? I know you said that you had a platform on the application and on your software that kind of helps. Is it realtors? And can you explain that process of how the AI works hand in hand with realtors? And also, what is attracting realtors to use Propy's proprietary technology moving forward as crypto gets more adopted and as more clients are asking them, I have crypto, I just bought Trump coin, and I exchanged it for USD, I made 10 grand, I would like to use it on the down payment on my house. How does that process come about, and how do you explain it?
I think, AI has to play a part in real estate. We were the first ones to have it play a part, but it has to play a part for a couple of reasons. One, real estate is one of those industries, and to me, it's the only industry that's left that has not changed, right? We're coming into this world where individuals are addicted to self-gratification. We need things now, right? I mean, if you're not doing anything, what are you doing? You're on your phone scrolling, right? There's no such thing as dead space anymore. So that's one thing. But if you look how now the consumer shops, and you look now that in even the car industry, you can buy a car by a click of a button on your phone. If you look at the way individuals shop now, we use Amazon for everything. We get groceries delivered to us now, right? If we're too busy working out of the house, we'll have food delivered to us. So everything is now. And in Amazon, I mean, my God, everything you can get on Amazon. I don't know about you, Mohammed, but everything is, in Florida, where you live too, you can get something delivered to you the same day. And then most of the time it's next day. But I don't know about you, but if I don't get something that's delivered next day, I look for a different supplier, which means now 2 days is now too long, right? So, but when it comes to real estate, the only thing that's been innovative in real estate has been fax to email. And so there hasn't been a way to be able to keep up with the way that the consumer currently thinks. There's not been a way to keep up with how the consumer shops until now. Because now what happens is most real estate agents, they work on the weekends, right? And the reason why they work on the weekends is because most of their clients work 9 to 5 and they can't go look at homes during the weekdays. And so a lot of the business transactions are occurring Saturdays, are occurring Friday nights, are occurring on Sundays, right? When I bought this house that I'm in now, I thought I was going to take advantage of the market because I went out on Easter Sunday. I was like, man, everyone's going to be with their families. I'm going to go looking for homes, and I'm going to pick up a house that no one's going to be looking at, right? Well, little did I know when I came to this open house, there was like 15 people already here. I couldn't believe it. But real estate agents transact on the weekends. But now what happens is when they go under contract, if they go under contract on a Saturday, they can't start title and escrow and start the actual transaction itself until Monday morning when their title and escrow company open. And they say, hey, it's 9 a.m. on Monday. You guys can now send us your contracts. But if the consumer is now shopping and is now expecting things instantly, then there's got to be a process for their clients. And so we've created that. So that's why we have Propy AI, where now agents can drop in contracts and have automation kick in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We broke our record, I believe it's either October, I think it was October, maybe September. where an agent went under contract, okay, and dropped a contract. And with our ACH style of earnest money deposit, from executed contract to us receiving the deposit was 6 minutes. And this occurred on a Friday evening at 8 o'clock at night.
That's amazing. And yeah, you're so right. It's a now world with shopping, with content. Even this is a off topic, but even the NBA and different entertainment industries are getting bullied by these short form content. You know, it's like the NBA, people would rather watch the highlights in 12 minutes rather than the whole game. And now they're wondering, how do we get viewership up? How do we get people watching the full game? And as you know, that's where all the ads are shown and sponsors are all over the arena because they expect eyeballs on them. And, now it's just coming through every single industry. Cars went from going in person and shopping for a car and it was an experience, and movies are gone, Blockbuster's gone, and now the housing sale process changes and it becomes, like you said, if we can get stuff done as a realtor, having an escrow deposit receipt same day on a weekend is a dream come true, and everything does happen on the weekend in real estate. It's tough to keep up, and it is a lot of waiting, and depending on different team members up the ranks, you have your centralized team that's processing the wire and then sending you the escrow deposit, and I can't see the status of it. I get a screenshot from my client saying they sent the money, but I got to wait until Monday to see if they got it yet. So streamlining that process is awesome. And how else are you incentivizing agents to join Propy as you guys, hit the market, collaborate with Coinbase, and really, as this innovation in industry starts picking up and merging more so with real estate, how are you attracting them?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because here we are with all this technology, right? And we have AI. We talked about AI, but the Web3 solution that we offer is really the bread and butter, because we are a true Web3 company. So our thought process is this, because our wiring system works very similarly to an ACH payment, okay? And because that we are able to take crypto, what we've done is gotten rid of wire fraud. Wire fraud is a huge issue, especially in Florida. But across the U.S., it's a huge issue. There are billions of dollars every year lost to wire fraud. And these expensive title policies that people are paying for, that doesn't cover that loss. So if you could imagine being a first-time home buyer, squeaking by, saving up, and then getting your deposit stolen, and now you don't qualify for the house. It would be heartbreaking. So having the process that we have in place, we're making sure that is a secure transaction. Now, us being a Web3 company and operating on blockchain and recording deeds on chain, is that we are putting basically an extra layer of security of ownership on that for that owner. Because now every single deed that we record has a QR code on it that links to the chain, so that people can actually see who is a true owner. Now imagine this, Mohammed. Imagine a time that if all counties were set up with a system to record on chain, and so every house that was sold, that deed was recorded. Eventually what would be happening is that all the houses in the US would then be recorded eventually on chain, which means there wouldn't be a need for title insurance, because the true ownership is already there. It's already seen. It's transparent. There's no need to go back in history 100 years. We just got to go back to the last transaction. So that's key. But secondly, also, is that being able to actually record the deeds on chain, we're getting rid of title fraud. So what we've really done is become not only the most secure, the most efficient title and escrow process, but also the most secure experience that a buyer and seller can possibly have. Now, to incentivize real estate agents and to incentivize real estate brokers, we want Propy to use our technology. We want agents to use Propy's technology in order to keep real estate secure, in order to keep the process clean, in order for us to actually transact and record those deeds on chain. So using our technology for Propy Inc., we reward agents in pro tokens for using our technology.
Yeah. And I'm a Propy ambassador, as you know, but to everybody watching, I am a Propy ambassador. And on behalf of Propy, I'm very Web3 native. I am looking forward to educating people on this. And I have a referral code as an agent, as a licensed agent, to get rewarded, as you say, in Propy tokens every time I bring somebody to the platform and I bring another agent to sign up to the platform. So the incentivization through having a crypto native token, kind of like, obviously not a security, but in the same sense of offering like a stock option to somebody as an employee, you can offer that in an informal basis to ambassadors and to people bringing you business, kind of like a referral network, which is awesome. And I just wanted to emphasize also emphasizing the elimination of wire fraud, title fraud, and also more importantly, just streamlining the process of being able to pay with crypto with your collaboration with Coinbase. So explain that to somebody. If they have 2 Bitcoin and they want to buy $1 million house and they have 20% to put down on the property, with your collaboration with Coinbase, how does that process work in terms of getting that money from obviously we don't have to sell it anymore with the collaboration. So what's the process of sending that money to the places where it needs to be and then leveraging the network and the AI platform to have that process as quickly as possible in crypto?
Yeah. So we have to make sure that there is, there's obviously a system in place. And so we have to make sure that the crypto holder is who they say they are, right? So we have to put them through a KYC process. We want to verify their identification. We then want to put them through an AML. We want to make sure that they're not on a most wanted list somewhere, right? That they have the legalities to actually purchase here in the United States. We then need to do a proof of funds, right? We've got to make sure that the person that is holding the crypto, 1, has that crypto, but 2, has access to that wallet, right? And then we also got to make sure that there is we have to do our sourcing to, where did this crypto come from and whatnot. Very similarly to if you're purchasing a home with fiat and you're getting a mortgage, the banking institution is going to want 6 months of your records to see where the inflow of your money is coming from, right? Something similar to that, not as much documentation, of course, but something similar. So once the person actually can prove that they are who they are, that they have the rights to do it, and they have the funds that they say they have, now it's time to go shopping, right? We let the agents know, hey, this guy is qualified. He has this amount. Go shopping. And so when that time comes up and they're ready to actually purchase the home, we simply verify again that they have access to that wallet. And what we'll do is we'll actually send them a small amount just to make sure they have access to it. And we're connected. The wallets are connected, right? And at that point, we know that it's the correct wallet. And then now what we can do is take that wallet and instantly exchange it. If the seller doesn't want crypto, of course.
Yeah, of course. And explain the process of how the seller receives that. So if we're buyers and we're sending Bitcoin, we've talked about this in the past, but there's a world where the seller doesn't even have to know that it was crypto involved in the sale.
That's
correct?
Because we are internally exchanging from Bitcoin to fiat. I mean, all we're doing is taking that money, exchanging it, and then we're dispersing it in USD to everyone else. So the seller doesn't know, the agent's getting commission just exactly the same way they would. The only difference is that the buyer came in with crypto, and that's it.
Yeah. And also I wanted to elaborate on what you said in terms of the KYC process, because a lot of people have this stigma in their mouth that when you talk about crypto, when you talk about blockchain, that there's a lot of dark net and manipulation and scams, and it's not as trustworthy as normal third parties that we use today for sending money and just for more professional services, right? So just, like you said, there's also a KYC process behind it to verify that you're not just dealing with any random Joe Schmo. You're still operating as a title company, and the fact that you're still gathering proof of fund information, background on who you're dealing with. You're not just accepting anybody to send crypto and buy a home, right? There's a lot more that goes into the process to verify who you're doing business with, right?
100%. And let me elaborate on that too, is because I think there was an old stigma that crypto was, for drug dealers and sex traffickers and, criminals, right? Because it's anonymous. But the truth is it's crypto isn't anonymous. It's more, synonymous than anything else, because we can see transactions, right? The blockchain is 100% transparent. There is no hiding transactions. All transactions are there recorded on the ledger. Now, we don't know who's behind that wallet address, right? It doesn't say Eric Cruz. It says some long digits of numbers, but that long digits of numbers, that wallet can be traced, can be tracked. And so that's how authorities are tracking, all these criminals on chain. And also, a statistic came out saying that less than 1% of all crypto transactions are criminal. Now, if you actually think about that for a moment and think about the billions of dollars of USD that is being, exchanged behind closed doors for everything else, it's just like the USD is actually more of a criminal loot than it is for crypto. So I think that stigma is starting to go away a bit.
Yeah, and I agree. I've been telling people on this channel for a long time, if anything is anonymous, it's cash. Cash has nothing tied on the back end to see who's operating. Cash is how people don't pay their taxes. Crypto, if you're not 100% secure with your using a VPN and covering up your IP address and doing all these nerdy things to protect yourself from an IT standpoint, most people are easily trackable by the right authorities. Yeah. And like you saw, remember when the infrastructure in the canal, I don't remember which canal it was, went down, and there was like a $500 million ransom in crypto. And they paid the ransom to get the infrastructure back moving, but then they were able to seize the crypto afterwards because the people who tried to, crypto is crypto. When you try to bring it out into another currency or bring it into the real world, you gotta know, they gotta know who they're dealing with most of the time, unless you're going through a third party, dark net type source to get cash or whatever fiat you're looking towards. Most exchanges, it's not easy to move large amounts of money around in silence. People have bots that snipe these whales moving money, and then the whole crypto internet is looking to see what's going on. Well, who is this person? Yeah, where does this wallet lead to? And then you get these bubble maps that lead all the way back to see. It's crazy. If you've been in the industry, you've seen these bubble maps for exactly. Once it hits Twitter, once it hits X, there's somebody on X called Zach XBT. Shout out Zach. I don't know if you are familiar with him, but Zach is known to be the dark net enforcer. So if you are creating a token or creating an NFT and then rugging the community and pulling out millions of dollars, usually bigger scams, Zach comes after you and he finds ways to find information on people that they would never expect. And then he posts a thread on X, and then he submits it to the authorities, and within a week, they're gone. It's crazy. And it's Zach XBT on Twitter, on X. And he's been around for many, many years. And there's people like him. He's not the only one. The government hires people like him for bounties.
Wow.
to make sure that their platforms are secure and that they can't get hacked, because it's all code on the back end of everything. And the people that can read code, they're a lot better off than you and I. I don't know about your code writing background, but in this next era of the internet, these people have an upper hand on us for sure.
You know, and that kind of brings up even a great point, because, you know, when we're talking about money laundering, right? The only ones that are keeping track of money laundering are the authorities, you know, the FBI, then we got the Treasury Department, right? We have part of the CIA that's inside of it. When it comes to crypto, I mean, anyone, can be an investigator.
Everybody. Because a lot of times everybody's pooling their money together to get into a new project or a new token. So they feel all betrayed at once. So you got a whole community of thousands to almost sometimes a million plus investigators finding out who this one wallet is that screwed us all over. It's not just the authorities trying to track down a few people that ran away into the wind. No, these people had a transaction on chain, public, and everybody, it's a slap in their face until they understand what really happened. So it is crazy to see the differences between investigation on the crypto world and then in regular authorities.
I think back to the original.
It is, and I guess while we're go ahead.
I think the original concept though of being a stigma, I think that it's kind of going to dissipate, and it's more and more dissipating, because I think that really helped out the crypto world was when Wall Street accepted it as an ETF. And I think when Bitcoin was traded on Wall Street, and now Ethereum being traded on Wall Street, and soon XRP, there's just going to be more and more social proof that this is actual thing and that people can actually trust it.
100%. And in terms of trust, this is a great point, time to talk about, just some success stories with Propy. You guys have dealt with clients over the past 7 years, people that have helped you early on with testing the product to bigger projects and bigger listings that you're working with today. So could you explain some of these success stories for our viewers, just so they know where Propy's at and then where we're going?
So a really cool story I want to tell is actually one that happened just last year. That this was an individual that he was buying some land here in Florida, and this was going to be a cash deal. Okay, I can't remember the amount. It was like the lot was like 30,000 or 35,000 or something. It's gonna be a cash deal, or maybe 130,000. I can't remember. But anyway, it was gonna be a cash deal. However, this guy was completely decentralized. All right, doesn't have a bank account. He uses Cash App to deal with USD. Most of his thing, he's a crypto guy, right? He's totally decentralized. He's off the grid kind of guy. So when it came time to actually purchase the property, there's no way to actually wire his funds because he doesn't have a bank account. There's no bank account number that he could actually link to a wire and to send the funds. So this normally would have been a dead deal. But because he's a crypto guy and we have the ability to do crypto, man, we turned that cash deal into a crypto deal and we closed 3 days later. So that's a pretty cool story. But we've also gone on the other spectrum. That was a small deal. We've also gone the larger spectrum. Grant Cardone has actually, he listed his $42 million beautiful home estate in Miami on our platform to sell. He's wanted taking Bitcoin. Actually, today we just landed a confirmation that we'll be working with a seller that is actually selling in Miami in Coral Gables with a $69 million home. So I think that we showed kind of how dynamic we can be and who we can actually, work with. We can work with the little guys and we can work with the big guys. We have the purpose of this and what we're showing is that regardless of who you are and regardless of what you're buying in real estate, our process is wanted and our process is needed. Regardless if it's luxury or regardless if it's just a lot deal, it actually has a place with everyone.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. I think, I did see you guys were, I wanted you to talk about the lending opportunity that you guys just announced, right? About a week ago.
Yes. So right now, actually, we are taking bids for an NFT project in Hawaii. So there is a condo that is up for sale that we have NFT'd. And there are, I think there's 136 individuals on the whitelist for this. And so basically what's happening is individuals are going through the identification, right? The KYC. And then bidding is starting, and then tomorrow it's going to be locked up. The beauty is that whoever has the highest bid on this property gets it instantly, like just how real estate should be, right? You hit a button, you can buy it. And it's a really cool project. It is awesome. And the cool thing is that there are, I think, are like 10 or 12 more of these that are going to be occurring in Hawaii. This specific project is a great project. One, because the price point is amazing. Being able to actually own a condo in Hawaii for $250,000 is amazing. But also, it's actually a rental property, and it already takes in about $20,000 each year in revenue. So it's a great investment opportunity, and it's a great way for Web3 guys, crypto bros, to get in there and actually use their coins.
Awesome. I would have, what's our time mark out right now, Eric?
Yeah, we got 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, I'd love to just wrap it up.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about in terms of upcoming announcements at Propy before we wrap it up?
No, I think I covered everything, man. I think we did good.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And then I guess, I want to, this last question is, I want to ask you, what does the future of home buying and selling look like in your eyes in 5 to 7 years?
In 5 to 7 years. Okay. I think smart contracts are going to be doing a lot of the lifting for title and escrow companies. I think AI would be doing a lot of the lifting for real estate agents, especially in Miami, where, a lot of Miami real estate agents feel like they need an attorney. A lot of the real estate agents down there will soon realize that they don't. That AI is capable of actually scouring over laws and telling you and compliance rules and being able to actually write a contract for you exactly for what you need, and you can actually submit that. So I think the processes are going to get a lot easier. I think the processes are going to get a lot quicker. Humans will play a role still, obviously, in real estate, but how it's actually processed, the automation that'll be in place will relieve a lot of the errors that occur in real estate, but also it'll make the transaction faster. And so hopefully we'll see a time that banks are now accepting crypto, right? We'll actually see a time that banks will speed up their processes, hopefully in the next 5 to 7 years, using AI and blockchain. So now this whole 30-day process doesn't have to necessarily be 30 days. Let's cut it in half. Let's make it 2 weeks, right? If we figured out the way to do it in 24 hours, I'm sure the banks can get on board to make this happen in 2 weeks. I don't think that NFTs will be super popular in 5 to 7 years yet. I think that not in residential. I think that in commercial, there's definitely a big place for tokenization and fractionalization, because now these builders can raise funds before they even break ground, right? And now these individuals also, and how sexy is that? How sexy is it that someone that's making, 80 grand a year, that doesn't have the funds to go in and buy these investment properties, can now, through fractionalization, not have to have all the funds to buy one property, but just to buy a fraction of it. And so what that'll do is fuel real estate and real estate investing once this occurs.
Yeah. Co-ownership is, it's powerful. What's that? that app that it was created a few, probably 6-7 years ago, but it allowed for people to invest in collectibles and buy fractionalized shares of like rare sports memorabilia, rare artifacts. And I forgot what it's called. Rally.
That's it.
It's called Rally. And Rally was super interesting to me at the time because I got big into investing probably a decade ago in my late teens, early to mid teens. And Rally was a super interesting breaking point for me. And then I got into Robinhood after that, but Rally was fractionalized ownership of collectibles, memorabilia. And now when you talk about housing and having like a 250 unit building that's fractionalized from an investor standpoint, right? Before all the units are even sold, you could also fractionalize a building and sell the individual units if you wanted to. I think we're gonna host the Twitter Spaces next week, so I'll keep you updated on that. I know that I had put that in the chat, and there was 4 or 5 agents that followed me on X. So I'm gonna make a chat with all the Propy ambassadors on X, and once you create, I'm not sure if you have an account yet, but I'll add you to it as well, so we can streamline communication on Spaces and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think my tag's real Eric Cruz.
Okay, I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you about it.
All right, brother.
But yeah, I thank you for joining us today. Here, I'll wrap it up real quick. So Eric, thanks again for joining us. I had a very, very enlightening discussion. I'm sure many will gather a lot from what you had to say. And when we look on this in 5 to 7 years, we'll revisit that question and see how correct you were and where we're at in terms of an innovation standpoint.
Amazing. Thanks for having me.
All right, Eric. I appreciate you, brother.
Cool, buddy. Good to see you.